Hey, what is up YouTube? This is the Merman Master coming at you guys from the Teen Time Riders YouTube channel with my updated Professor Thelonious Viper Venom deck. Since the last profile, guys, I have been putting an incredible amount of work into this and trying to sort of refine the idea that I was going for with the first deck in terms of its ability to just try and turbo out Vennominaga as much as possible while still maintaining the use of the original Venom monsters that Professor Viper was known for. You know, granted, guys, you could build a deck that has like Gradles or other things and it'll work probably way better, but you know, I think the fun thing about this deck is that it takes into account all of Viper's old monsters and still tries to keep some of the stuff. And let me just tell you guys, I found some brand new cards that really take this deck to the next level, in my opinion. I'm going to explain some of my card choices and then also some absences since the last deck profile. So keep a lookout for that. So guys, first things to get the monsters out of the way. Of course, the Venom deck would not be complete without 3 copies of Venom Serpent, 3 copies of Venom Snake, and then this is more just for show, but the 1 copy of Venom Boa. Basically, all these snakes are just numbers and names. Just for all intents and purposes, normal monsters. You want to get these guys to the grave and get them there fast because your main event and the main dish of this entire deck is coming up right now. It is these guys right here. 3 copies of Vennominaga, King of Poisonous Snakes, and the 1 copy of Vennominaga herself. Now, Vennominaga is your main win condition in this deck, and she has one of the craziest effects of all time, especially for an old GX boss monster. For those of you guys who do not know, she's basically impervious to everything. No monster, spell, or traps effects. Gains 500 for every reptile in graveyard, and every time she inflicts battle damage, she gains a counter. And if you get 3 of these counters called Hyper Venom counters on her, you win the duel. So, like, just absolutely insane. And because of the fact that she is that insane, she has an insane summoning condition as well, meaning that you have to take a trap card that will only activate when Vennominaga himself is destroyed by a card effect, and then you have to make sure that it doesn't miss timing either in order to trigger this off. So this entire deck is sort of focused around trying to get Vennominaga out as fast as possible. You know, you have a lot of Vennominons in here to do that. These guys all count as snake names and further along the path of Professor Viper. So now moving on to the tech cards, the ones that made this deck possible. 3 copies of my last monster, Lilith, Lady of Lament, and 3 copies of Card of Demise. Now, Card of Demise and Lilith, Lady of Lament, make this deck work because Card of Demise is actually perfect in here because you're always trying to get your snakes to the graveyard. And the fewer snakes you have in your deck, the more spells and traps you can draw, and therefore the more pluses you can do with it. And Lilith comes in by allowing you to search trap cards that are necessary. In particular, guys, Lilith allows you to search out Rise of the Snake Deity right out of your deck, which is just absolutely insane. You're going to want to be doing that all the time. Whatever card you're missing in order to get your combo off to get Vennominaga onto the field is, you know, your big thing. Like, you know, in this deck, you very much play against yourself because when you get Vennominaga out, you want to not only make sure that you have the, you know, you need to get that guy to the graveyard, Vennominaga, King of Poisonous Snakes. Then you have to find a way to revive him. Then you have to find a way to destroy him. And then you have to have the trap card active. And then when Vennominaga hits the field, then you have to find some ways to protect her and then also make sure that there are enough snakes in grave so that your opponent just can't easily run her down by battle. So that's like the big thing here. And Lilith really helps you to search out whatever combo piece you're missing, as is Card of Demise. You know, your deck moves slowly, but once Vennominaga is out and she gets big, like, you know, there's big benefits to gain from that. Comboing along really well with that is the 3 copies of Snake Rain. Of course, this is probably going to get banned at some point soon, but Snake Rain just is discard 1 card and send any 4 reptiles from your deck to the graveyard. So just phenomenal card. not only gets the monsters in there necessary to boost up the power of Naga, but also thins your deck for Card of Demise. Got to run this card at 3 because you want to be seeing these things all the time. Next, guys, we got 2 copies of Dark Hole. When you can't pop your Naga enough, Dark Hole comes in here and pops it for you. And now we're running only 1 copy, actually. Bumped it down from 3 to 1 of Venom Swamp. I was seeing this card way, way, way too much, so I bumped it down to 2 and eventually down to 1. This card is not really that useful. The alternate win condition doesn't get you any kind of benefit, and you want to have every card in this deck being as consistent as possible to get Vennominaga out. So I had to take out the those other cards just to sort of make that work. Dark Eruption in here to fetch your Naga back. The biggest pain in the rear is when your Vennominaga is drawn off of Card of Demise and there's nothing that you can do about that. So you need some way to recur it so that you can actually special summon it, because the trap card only gets it from hand or deck. 1 copy of Monster Reborn, pretty self-explanatory. Get your guys back. Very, very good card. 1 copy of Dark World Dealings. Sometimes you'll be drawing into the sometimes you'll be drawing into your kings, and there's no real way to get them out of your hand. I wish there was, but Dark World Dealing gets them to your graveyard, so you can revive them easily while also drawing you cards and thinning your deck. Slash Draw is just another way to get your Naga back into the deck. I really do love Slash Draw as a way to recycle your deck back and forth. Now moving on to the traps, and this is where the awesomeness lives, guys. 3 copies of Rise of the Snake Deity. 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. Basically, these 2 cards right here are your main combo piece. And you might be wondering why we're running 3 of each. It's because so that you can, assuming you still have all 3 of them in the deck and you didn't draw it, you can get a 100% chance to get one of them to your back row, whichever one you're missing other than Lilith. So both Torrential Tribute, or other than, you know, whatever else you're running. So it's like if you got Lilith, Lady of Lament, you can easily grab one of these guys out there and just have it set up for your next turn or for the end phase when you're doing other kinds of shenanigans. And now for one of the brand new cards, guys, that we have in here, actually on theme for Professor Viper, considering that he had to bury his son, 3 copies of Peaceful Burial. Peaceful Burial is a brand new change, and you guys notice that there is no more Foolish Burial in this deck. Peaceful Burial is actually amazing because it can be searched out, and it instantly gets your Naga to the graveyard. And it's directly, I'd say, worse than Foolish Burial in literally every other deck but this. I found, you know, the fact that this is searchable means that you're always going to be getting this effect off, which is fantastic when you want to get your big snake to the grave, so it's easy for you to revive it with our next card, which is 2 copies of Limit Reverse. Very, very good card. And this one has the extra added benefit of getting your snake back, and then it has an effect that allows it to destroy it itself. So if you switch it to defense mode, it will automatically destroy the monster, allowing you to trigger off your Rise of the Snake Deity. Now, you can't really have, like, you know, some amazing plays unless you try and protect your monsters, and these 2 cards do a perfect job at that. 1 copy of There Can Only Be One and 1 copy of Skill Drain. Usually having these set and then triggering them when Vennominaga is out is enough to pretty much bring home the duel against some pretty crazy decks. Like Skill Drain is great against Dracos and stuff like that because you get a big Naga out and they cannot beat over it. But first, you got to get there, and that's where all the rest of the deck is going. Now, since you guys have last seen it, you notice the absence of Venom Swamp, the absence of Foolish Burial, and probably most notably, the absence of Offering to the Snake Deity. I found with the increasing number of times that I'd rather be sending my snakes to the graveyard rather than summoning them, and I'd much rather use a normal summon on Lilith, for instance. I don't really like getting my snakes out as often as any other Venom player. I just don't think that they warrant enough for the price of the normal summon, and I'd rather just be sending them to the graveyard. So the Offering to the Snake Deity requires you to have the snakes on board, and it requires you to keep that going. So while it's a great card in many other reptile decks out here, it's not really that useful. And one more thing to note, of course, guys, is regarding skill drain and the way that skill drain works with Vennominaga. Vennominaga may be unaffected, but that's only if she hits the field before skill drain. If skill drain is out there, technically her effect to make her unaffected will not be allowed to come out, because she'll come to the field with her effects negated. So that's just one important piece to notice, guys, here. But this deck is still a work in progress in many ways, but it's considerably sped up from its previous iteration, and I think that you guys are going to have an immense amount of fun playing this deck and really getting to see how consistently you can get Vennominaga, Deity of Poisonous Snakes, onto the board. So guys, thanks so much for watching this video. This has been the Mermail Master with the Team Time Riders Yugi Tube channel, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.